Are you prepared for all of the things that are happening on the social media landscape in 2022? While I cannot claim that the next 23 minutes are going to solve or answer all of your questions, I can tell you that the information in today's episode is critical to your business success as you think about how you spend your time and resources on social media. Stay tuned. Also, at the end of the episode, you're going to get a few of my favorite things that have nothing to do with social media, but just make me happy, and a Pick My Brain question that will help you make decisions about how you show up in your brand to answer questions for your audience. Today's Make It Happen episode is here for you. Okay, for today's Pick My Brain, we are going to Timothy Hargett. I love it when there's a dude who chimes in from time to time, because usually it's the ladies, but welcome to the show. His Pick My Brain question is it better to use curiosity in your marketing or be upfront about the name and the brand, etc.? So this is kind of a loaded question. It's really hard to answer in a little quick segment, but I want to give you some thoughts, Timothy, and for anyone else who has this question. My gut instinct is to tell you that in this day and age, you don't have enough time to lead people along and to pique curiosity, and you need to cut through the clutter and say who you are and what you do as quickly as possible. That doesn't mean that curiosity marketing can't work or doesn't work in some instances. I mean, even on the show, I have talked about how I have watched 4 minutes to 22 minutes of a video about someone decorating a cake, and my curiosity was absolutely piqued, and I watched and stuck around for a lot longer than I could have. That said, that was hitting my entertainment brain and not my business or my transactional brain. And so my business and transactional brain thinks really quickly. Think like the time that you have when you're driving down the interstate and you see a billboard. You literally have 3 seconds to help people understand who you are and what you do. Now, I'm going to dive in one step further. I know that you're in direct sales. And so there's also a level here where you could have a conversation about building your brand, whether that's within the direct sales company that you're in or having your own brand and the direct sales piece in the company is a part of who you are and what you do. And I always recommend the latter. Hopefully you'll stay with this company forever, but you might choose and find that this is just one of the areas and ways that you help others within your target market. And so if you can build a brand around you, your name, or even a business name that you feel passionate about that brings in your direct sales piece and maybe even something else that you offer down the road, I am always a fan of having an umbrella brand that helps you share a fuller picture of who you are as an individual and a business owner and the kinds of services and offerings that you have. Now, like I said, I wouldn't necessarily always exclude curiosity marketing, but when it comes to your brand, I would say cut to the chase as quickly as possible so that people can understand who you are and what you do, and that the buying process and the buying decisions that they make will happen a lot faster. I'm cheering you on, wishing you the best, and let me know how it goes. Thanks for sending in a question to Pick My Brain. If you'd like to send in your question to Pick My Brain that I can answer on this show or even on social media, you can find me at Speak Michelle on Instagram and on Facebook. Or you can email me, michelle@speakmichelle.com, put Pick My Brain in the subject line, and watch for your question to be answered on future episodes of the show. I recognize that if you're coming to watch this show, and if you have followed me for a long time, you know that I love to talk about social media, but I do know that I'm not one of your top resources and go-tos when it comes to social media, and I even recommend you from time to time to a few other places. That said, social media is a huge part of what I do, both within my agency and with my consulting clients, and I am in the mood to share with you what I consider to be the state of social media for 2022. Now, I shared this with my clients and attendees at the Marketing Blueprint in December of 2021. And there are a few additional pieces that I'm going to share with you today because as things evolve and develop, it is an ever-moving target. But the biggest thing that you need to know about social media in 2022 is that everything is changing. If you haven't already heard, and I'll be surprised and shocked if you're hearing it from me first, but Facebook is changing its name to Meta. And over the course of 2022 and beyond, you'll watch them make that brand transition. It will look simple at first. In fact, right now, if you open up your app, this episode is being filmed and released in the first quarter of 2022. So if you're watching this later in the year, it could be entirely different, but just so that you get a frame of mind for those of you who are watching it right now, if you open up your Facebook app, it will say Facebook by Meta. It also, even on Instagram, is starting to say Instagram by Meta in different places. You'll start to see the logo creep up in different parts of the interface, whether you're on mobile or on desktop. And then over time, they will do Meta, formerly Facebook, and then they will drop the Facebook altogether. But that will be a transitional process. They know that they're trying to get people to wrap their brains around a gigantic name change, especially when they have so much stickiness in the market. It won't be something that just one day you open up your phone and you don't know where Facebook is and all of a sudden it's Meta. It will be a really gradual transition. That said, I don't expect just the name to change through the process. So there are lots of things that are being said and done right now within the corporation of Facebook, and you can even follow along. They have a page where they're talking about all of the changes that they're going to make. I watched a long presentation from Mark Zuckerberg about all of the things that they have in store moving forward, everything from virtual reality to events to continuing on with video platform. They're still keeping on with Reels. One of the lines that he says is Reels are our future, which I think is very telling and important information for you to understand about where the Facebook Meta direction is headed and what you can expect from them. But what this means for you is that I expect the interface for Facebook and Meta to completely change. I expect the feed to look entirely different. I expect the content to be different. And to understand this principle, you also have to go back to Mark Zuckerberg's roots. Initially, when Facebook was first on the market, he was caring about the young college audience, ways for them to connect and share. And right now, if we're all being honest, there are many college students that aren't even on Facebook and it's not even relevant to them. And I think I'm seeing the corporation and their CEO care about moving back into that younger platform, that younger market, that they can go back to connecting through this platform. As a result, they're going to make changes that will be hip and cool to try to attract that audience. I know that this is happening also because I'm starting to see ads by Facebook Meta that show a really young hipster demographic that is very different than what they currently have. They're advertising towards a completely new audience. And as a result, what you'll probably see is those in different markets will feel etched out and moved, which means that not only will the interface change on Facebook Meta, but the people that will be there, the content that will be there will be completely different. If you're in a different market and you feel like you no longer belong, that's because they're moving towards a different audience, and you can still play and you can still be relevant there, but just know that their focus is changing. It's really interesting to watch their target market shift, and it's interesting to watch them make intentional changes about who they're reaching out to and completely changing their interface to match that audience. It is fascinating to watch from a marketing point of view. And so if you want to put your marketing hat on and watch what they're doing, that is equally as fascinating as the changes that they're making as well. So if you are targeting an audience right now on Facebook that tends to be a little bit older and you're not working in the TikTok realm, you might see that change with Facebook. And as that does, it will be a little bumpy. I expect the marketing process for companies to be bumpy. I expect the ad algorithm to change over the next 6 to 12 months. And you'll see different things where ads that used to work before won't be working now in the same way. And it will just be a complete new rediscovery of what works and what doesn't on social media. Now, as frustrating and as painful as this is, I remind everyone with a huge dose of love that Facebook is Facebook's home court advantage, and they have the ability to be able to change and do anything that they want to at any given time, and they do. I have a client who has invested in Facebook a lot and pretty deeply over the years. She runs a successful paper planner company. And every year in the summer for the 4th of July, she does Made in the USA ads. And she shares that content. Last year in 2020 and 2021, as we were in a tumultuous political climate, her ads were shut down for her messages. Even though she was not promoting a political party, a political candidate, or anything of a political nature, It fell into that category of their community guidelines. And not only were her ads shut down, but she had some issues with posting on her own platform that she had built. I share this as a tragic story and also as a crystal clear example that when you're playing on any social media channel, Facebook included, you are the visiting team. They can and will do anything that they can to preserve what they're hoping for. They want views, they want audience, they want time on the platform, and they're going to do everything that they can to preserve that. The story that I shared with you about the Success Choice, the paper planner company, is just one of hundreds that I have heard of individuals being shut down for a variety of reasons. And while that's not the only thing that I think is important to talk about in terms of the changes that Facebook makes, I need you to be thinking about the investment that you're making in social media this year, because it will change, it will be different, it will be bumpy, it will be rocky, and that doesn't mean that it's going to be all negative. And there could be things that absolutely work through this transition process. But if in the past you have invested a lot of your time and resources on Facebook and other social media platforms, this may be the year to invest in other places while they work some kinks out and you're not throwing money into places that are completely uncertain. Now, I know that Facebook has a plan and they're not just going to put garbage out. They are really being intentional about what they're putting forward. And their goal really is to have individuals stay longer on the platform, which means for you as a business or as an advertiser or an expert, you might have people who spend more time learning about you or seeing about you. I was just invited by Facebook to throw my podcast through on my page through their new podcast app, which I think is absolutely fascinating to see that growth and development. And we'll play with it and see if it works and provides value for us for an audience that we're not getting in other places. But there's so many different things happening within Facebook. You might find yourself overwhelmed at times with all of the things that are going to come. I also think that we can't ignore the changes because Facebook is currently leading the market in the social media platforms. And as a result, I expect almost every other social media platform to make major changes. It's a lot easier to make changes when other companies are doing the same. And you'll find that they stay consistent for a while. But as there's newfangled contraptions that come out and new functionality, you'll find other social media platforms are going to make changes to fit the mold and move forward. This is just one piece of information that I think is important as you consider what your social strategy is in 22 and beyond. Know that the changes are coming, but also know that there are ways that you can navigate this landscape in ways that mean that you aren't throwing money away and that you're being really intentional about your goals. I'm intentional in 2022, making my social media platforms bring everything back to my home court advantage. Bringing people to my content on my website, bringing them to my shows where they can watch me consistently and I can cut through the clutter while they're watching just me and not the distractions of everything else that's going on. And more than anything, I'm using social media to build my email list, my text messaging list, and my direct mail list, which I have been talking about a few times in the last couple of months on this show about the importance of building out your home court advantage. Allow social media to funnel people to your home court advantage. Worry less about this year's vanity metrics of growing your following or seeing how many views you can get, and worry more about conversion to your platform and your opportunities. That might mean that you invest in your ads in different ways. It might mean that you change your content and what you're putting out there, but it absolutely needs to mean that you're intentional about what you're doing on the social media platform and that you're not wasting your time online. So learn a few things. You don't necessarily have to get super deep, but as you consider the changes, figure out how you can adjust your strategy to match your goals moving forward so that you can thrive. The other thing that I would recommend for you as you think about social media and my state of the social media platform is that, and I had somebody call me the other day say, hey, Michelle, I know you're not super big on LinkedIn, but what would you suggest I do on LinkedIn? And interestingly enough, you don't have to be a LinkedIn expert to know exactly what needs to be done. But this advice I would give to you regardless of any platform you're interested in growing and thriving in 2022, whether it's Clubhouse or TikTok or Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn or even Pinterest, that I still think is a valuable player. And you always know my first love in social media was Twitter, and we are still investing in Twitter in interesting ways in 2022. I'm happy to share those with you, though those tend to be a little less popular than some of the others. But regardless of the platform that you want to be on, my number one tip and advice to help you manage the algorithm, make sure that you get the most eyeballs on your content, is this. do whatever they are focusing on. And it doesn't take much to find out. You can do a quick Google search. You can even do LinkedIn news or Facebook news or Clubhouse news, and they will show you the efforts and the places that that platform is investing. LinkedIn is investing a lot right now on LinkedIn Live. They are highly putting a lot of backing behind it. They are featuring content creators who are creating live content. It's still not available to everyone. So you have to either apply or you have to do a series of content before you can actually be able to be given the platform. But that said, I know that it's a value to them because I can see them putting a lot of live content in my feed. And I've also done research to show that that is their number one. They are still caring a lot about articles because they want searchability to increase and they see themselves being a business searchable platform moving forward. So you can create long form content on LinkedIn that you can't really do in the same way to get the efforts that you want in other platforms. If you're in business to business and you want to be in LinkedIn, I highly recommend that you follow those two platforms for LinkedIn. We could go through each of the platforms and we won't spend a ton of time doing that on this particular episode, but I am going to give you a couple of other highlights that I think are important. TikTok is huge. And so but at the same time, and if your brand is not participating, if your target audience is not participating on TikTok, it doesn't matter if your brand is. So make sure that you're matching that platform. It has a very young audience. They're doing a lot still in the millennial space and even in the up and coming generations with youth as young as 13 to 15 that are spending a lot of time on that platform, watching a lot of videos. And yet at the same time, this demographic is also the one with the least amount of disposable income. So as much as we'd like to be on a platform that is fun and entertaining, it may or may not be the right choice for you and your business, depending on what your target market is. Is it possible to grow a business on TikTok? Absolutely. Is it possible to grow a brand on TikTok, even if you don't target millennials? For sure. And so I'm not saying you completely rule it out, but just be cautious and intentional about how you're reaching your target market so that you get the link backs to your home court advantage. And again, away from the noise on that platform so that they can find you and convert to your content and to your sales offerings. Obviously, we'll spend a little bit of time talking about Instagram and Facebook and what to focus in those platforms as they transition over the next 6 to 12 months. But short form content is still ruling in all of these platforms. As much as I love long form content too, we're making different changes. In fact, in between each episode we do here, I take a reel so that we can focus on that. Instagram is focusing so much of their audience on reels right now. Everything in their algorithm is that way. And the interesting thing to note is just like TikTok is an open searchable platform and it's not just about who follows you and what you do, reels are becoming that same way on both Instagram and Facebook. So you can create reels and short form content on Instagram and Facebook and they will show it to people who don't follow you. It is the only type of content in both of those platforms that they are showing outside of your follower and friend base. So if you want to reach a bigger audience, I highly recommend that you play the reels game. And you can still continue to post if you want, but posts won't do as well if they're just static graphics. If you want to post, add carousels so that people are swiping through and staying a long time on your particular profile and any other content that you can get people to engage. Every reel view is counted and the time that they spend on each piece of content counts. So if they're looking at the reel and the video view and also reading the captions, that helps you in the algorithm. So provide ways that you're telling people to read captions or to even provide longer form in your captions so that people stay as long as that engaging video is part of it. I also tell people that you gain and grow a following on Instagram through reels and posting and hashtag strategy, but you keep a following engaged by your stories. So if you are going to grow an Instagram in 2022, I highly recommend an aggressive posting strategy, but also being relevant on stories and staying connected that way. It gives you the ability to build a relationship where a post or a reel might spark awareness and consideration. A story will get people moving through the process to trial and purchase through the purchase cycle and more likely interested in purchasing your product because they get to know you on a deeper and a stronger level. So consider that as you're thinking about playing on Instagram. Facebook obviously is caring about content. They still like live video, but reels are number one. But I'm going to predict that their form of content and what they care about will change over the next 6 to 12 months. So you're going to need to be agile. If you know Facebook is your number one platform to watch right now, I would focus on reels and video and short form content. But as they move forward and start to play more in virtual reality and AR, there will be ways for companies to create content there, which in some ways completely blows my mind, but also is just part of the future. So we're watching companies, both big and small right now, prepare themselves for what it would look like to have somebody walk into their building or to participate in a sporting event or a concert or a live event where they can pay $5 to feel like they're in the room with you. And even just thinking about the possibilities of that for something like the marketing blueprint that I do in the fall is fascinating and interesting to watch. While it might be a few years before we're there, it's coming faster than you think. And so just think about that and have the conversations that you need to be having now within your organization, with your teams, and even if it's just you with yourself about how you're going to stay up and keep up and remain relevant in an ever-changing social landscape. And for some of my clients, they throw their hands in the air. They're like, Michelle, I can never compete. I can never keep up. I can never do all of those things. I'm just going to let social media go. And it is possible to build a business in this day and age, even without social media, for as big as it is. But I also know that for many of those people who throw their hands up in the air, they just say to themselves, well, I'm just going to post. I'm just going to create cute graphics and I'm just going to post a few things here and there. And I would almost recommend that if you're not jumping into whatever platform you're playing on with 2 feet, it's almost worth not doing anything. If you're going to spend 1 hour a week just doing the bare minimum, it's almost better to do 2 hours a week of intentional platform-specific, algorithm-focused content rather than just throwing a piece out there here and there just to look like you're alive, because they will not be showing your content to anyone else. I don't mean to hurt your feelings. I say this all with a whole bunch of love, but I want to prepare you for the world that's ahead and help you be thinking forward rather than staying in the past. As easy as it would be to just continue to do the same things over and over, please don't expect different results to happen as the algorithm changes and as the focus changes in these platforms. Now, I can't leave this conversation on social media without sharing with you 2 last final bits of advice that I think are important in 2022, just as they were in 2017 and as they will be in 2027. If you're a small business owner and you're growing a social media platform, I highly recommend that you choose one platform that you go deep on. It's really tempting to be everywhere. And yet, if you don't have the team to support you, both in building content, building the community, and interacting with the audience, it's not worth spreading yourself thin. Find one platform that you care about, go deep into that platform, get really good about all of the efforts and the tips and strategies that you can find on that specific platform so that you can build an audience of individuals that are committed, that come back, that feel like they're connected to like-minded others, and then you'll be able to build a community. Remember that people come online for information and connection. When they're coming to a social media platform, they're not coming to be sold to. So how can you as a business and a brand build information and connection with a group of individuals that feel less like followers and more like raving fans? That should be your goal. Now, if you want, create a profile in every one of the social media outlets. Let them know that you're alive and well. Tell them that you're still in business. Have a link to your website, but then put in your description or in your profile bio, just say, hey, thanks for finding me here. We are still serving our community. We post regularly on Clubhouse. Come find us on Clubhouse. If you're going deep on Clubhouse, do it and give yourself permission to let some of the other platforms go so that you can go deep and build that audience there. Whatever it is that you choose, go 1 or 2. I'm able to do a few more because I have assistants and a team that helps me. But my second bit of advice for you on any of these platforms is that if you are building a business, if you're the expert, or if you are building a brand around who you are as a big or even a medium-sized company, and it's not necessarily around an individual human, you still need to be really careful about your tone. And while I do have teams that post for me and help me create content, I'm very careful not to outsource my voice. My voice is really important to me and to my platform, especially for me as a speaker and a presenter. I cannot afford to have it not sound like me. So I create my content, they help me execute, and they help me schedule. But I'm making sure that I'm clear about that. If you're a business or a brand and it's not about an individual, you still want to make sure that your tone is consistent from post to post, from reel to reel, from audio to video, and everything in between. Make sure that this year, if you're investing in social media, that you're also investing in your messaging and making it consistent across your different platforms and that it matches your home court advantage. As you consider even just simple messaging tweaks that will help it be more consistent with who you are and what you do, make sure that you're not forgetting your target market, because it can be really easy to talk about social media, get really excited about the bells and whistles, and even the billion people that are playing every day on Facebook. And yet at the same time, if you're not focused and crystal clear about who your target market is and how you serve them, it won't matter if you're playing on the biggest platforms. Many of my best customers are doing the best in smaller areas where they're so clear about their target market. They're not worried about the big numbers. They know who their audience is, and they're willing to be on quote unquote smaller social media platforms because that's where their audience is. I have a client who's killing it on YouTube, another client who's killing it on Pinterest, two entirely different markets, but the way that they have focused their efforts in specific platforms to build a sense of community, but also to be able to very, very clearly speak to their target audience has been able to help them. And it's a huge relief. They don't worry about being all things to all people in all platforms. They have found their tribe. They are loving them hard, and they are doing really well on individual social media platforms that match their target audience. I know that this video will probably be as irrelevant in 6 minutes as it will be from the moment that I made it. And yet I also know that I need you to see what's happening in the social media landscape over the next 6 to 12 months so that you can invest your time wisely and appropriately. And so if this video becomes defunct and extinct, we can create a new one, and I can do another state of social media. And it doesn't have to be once a year. It can be twice a year if I feel like it, because this is my party and I can do what I want to. But for now, I am cheering you on in making your best decisions when it comes to building a social media strategy that works. If you have questions about this, I would love to help you and work with you. Even just a one-time strategy session, we can dive into your business and your target market and help you create the right social strategy so that you're not wasting your time and wasting your money in an outlet that feels daunting, but you're focused and interested in building a tribe of followers that also becomes your raving fans that pay you lots and lots and lots of money. Social media is a great tool, but as with all tools, they need to be used in the right place in the right time, or else they will end up being a tool that is misused and cannot work for you the way that you need it to be. You would never use a hammer where you need a screwdriver, and social media needs to be reminded of that from time to time too. So I'm cheering you on in 2022 that it will be a year of changes, but as you make these tiny adjustments, they will make a big difference for your business, not just for this year, but in the years to come. Make it happen. Okay, we are ready for a few of my favorite things. We are going to start with this little guy, the On Guard chewable tablet. Okay, this is my favorite. I keep this in my bag so that if I'm out at a meeting or traveling, I have these. These are little chewable tablets. Think akin to like an emergency packet. You would dump that into a water bottle and drink it and get some nutrients. These are just chewables. So if I don't have a water bottle, I can just take a couple when I'm hopping on an airplane or running into a meeting, just to keep my defenses up and to keep myself just as strong as I possibly can be in this weird world that's happening out there. I just like having these around, and they're just quick and tote and easy. So I'll put a link for those below if you want them. This is a book that I am enjoying, and I haven't read it all yet. So I'm sharing it with you mid-process. That is really just my disclaimer to say that if there's something offensive in the back, I haven't gotten to it yet. But nothing offensive so far. This is The Atlas of the Heart by Brené Brown. It's just really beautifully done as well. There's lots of beautiful pictures. But the thoughts and concepts in here that are all about having meaningful connections and the ways that you interact with yourself, the ways that you interact with others. Of course, it's beautifully done. I always love books that have big quotes that are out and pictures in between. And it just is just thoughtful and inspiring. And so this is a read that I'm getting through slowly but surely. I've talked about this before, and I don't need to spend a ton of time on it here while we're talking about favorite things, but I hop back and forth between my Audible account and reading physical books, and I will get through a book 10 times faster if I listen to it on Audible. And so this one will take me a little while, but it was so pretty that I felt like I needed to own the physical copy. I love pretty things. The last one I'm going to share with you is My Tribe bracelets. I will again put a link for these below. I love these bracelets. My friend Tara James started making them a few years ago. I have lots of different colors. I have lots of different options for different seasons and different holidays. I had some custom ones made for me that obviously have some personal meaning that I just love, and I tend to gravitate towards those more frequently than others. But I like that I can express different parts of who I am, whether it's festive or seasonal or colorful and everything in between. So if you like the idea of stacking bracelets like that, I will give you the link down below for My Tribe bracelets. And those are a few of my favorite things. Did I make you sad? I was not intending to make you sad. I was trying to equip you with information. And some of my clients, when they get this, are like, oh, Michelle, it feels like I'm starting all over, and I know it is, but today you are making new choices and decisions and moving forward. We are in the moving forward business. So if you're moving forward with social media, I hope you use some of these tips and strategies to help you take your business to the next level by being intentional about the time that you spend. If you liked this episode, and I hope that you did, please like and subscribe to this channel so that you don't miss another single episode. I would also love and be super honored for the review that you leave in your favorite podcasting or viewing platform so that other people like you can find these shows because of the comments and the things that you share. I read every single review and I'm grateful for each one. Thank you for what you're doing to help share the message of the Make It Happen community. And until next week, I'm cheering you on, both personally and professionally. Make it happen.